G'day, doggies, fans, all things Bulldogs. Welcome to the podcast. It's episode 16. And thank you to those who have come on and said hello already. Enjoy that pizza there, Dave. And there's my dog carrying on like an absolute bloody grommet. But I'll wait for a few people to jump on. We're going again at 7 o'clock. Sorry I couldn't do it at 7. Had a few things pop up and I didn't finish work till not that long ago. Just heard my dog squeal, so hopefully everything's all right. I think someone's getting Maccas, but it's not me. Anyway, guys, I'll wait for a few people to jump on. We're going to talk about, obviously, this big Titans game on Sunday. We're going to look through the sides. The Titans side doesn't look as threatening as the first round, but you'd probably have to say our side doesn't look as threatening either. But really hoping to, get back on track after the first half on Thursday night, where I got to witness me and my daughter at the game. A pretty, not a nice time in that first half. We had a lot of fun in the second half, I will say, though. G'day, Jared. Welcome to the show, mate. I'm not sure if you've been on here before, but definitely come on and give us your thoughts, ask some questions. There will be lots happening. I've got some ideas or some ideas passed to me of things that we can do. I don't like to just do the podcast. I like to do videos on juniors and that sort of stuff as well, and sort of give as much sort of as I can in what I'm doing. G'day, Tony, and thanks for joining last week. Really appreciate that, Tony. And it's time for the bounce back. And welcome again, Elaine. I only just sent you the link. It's all good. Terrible weather at Sydney. The weather's not too bad here in Brisbane. We are expecting showers. Seem to be, we just can't escape it. And I'm expecting the ground. I don't know how much showers there will be for the weekend. Probably a bit early to get anything concrete, but we know by that last day that ground's going to be pretty chopped up, as it usually is. Normally we're playing on the Friday night surface, which is at the best time, but often after a 5-day turnaround and against the Raiders, where we've lost a lot of close games against them, high-scoring close games. This time it's against the Titans on a Sunday during the day, and really looking forward to going through these two sides. Yeah, weather's going well, Pete. How you going, Peter Witt? Thank you for joining. I'm not sure I've had you on here before. Demetrius says no Sutton on the field, so that's good news. Well, I'll get the teams up now. We've got about 20 people on. Let's go. We'll present the sides. I've got our side scrolling down the bottom, which I like to have going the whole time in case you come on at different times and you haven't seen the team. You can have a look. So let's go. Now let's make sure I make it so you can actually bloody see it. That would be a help, wouldn't it? All right. So let's look at it. We'll go through the Titan side first. I'm not sure if too many people know about Jalen de Groot, but I've noticed him for a little while, and he started, always done well in the Queensland Cup and lower grades. This guy, a couple of weeks ago, was sensational against the Raiders. He, like, the amount of fullbacks this team's got is quite amazing. Definitely not your Keanu Kinney type, but a big strider. Reminded me a bit of Brett Mullins. Don't know if he'll get to that level, and hopefully he doesn't get anywhere near that level on the weekend, but real free strider and, knows how to take the break and take the space, and a real goer. Good under the high ball. Khan Pereira's second game back, they were pretty disappointing against the Cowboys, I must say. Although typical Titans, they looked really good in some parts and then fell away. Brian Kelly and Philip Sammy, two of the oldest players in the comp, playing in those sort of positions, always try hard, good defenders, good with the ball, always hard to stop, can throw an offload. And Jojo Fafita. So that back five is more dangerous than people realise. AJ Brinson at 5'8" goes all right. Kicking game improves week on week. Tom Weaver, I think he missed 8 tackles in his first game back. He I think he's trusted as a real workhorse and someone that can kick the footy and pass the ball and do all that sort of stuff and never gives up. But you wouldn't be rating him in he's in your bottom 4 halfbacks in the comp for sure. This is where the Titans make their bread and butter. It's in their forward pack. Mo Fotuaika, Sam Verrills, Regan Campbell-Gillard, Chris Randall, who's had some real good utility value, playing on an edge, which is interesting. Bo Fermor has had a really good season, and Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. Let's see if he puts that elbow into any of our players. He did it again at Belmore. First time he ran the ball, he lifted his elbow. I didn't see him do it again, though. Maybe they said something to him, but it was flying pretty close. You just got to say knees and elbows, whilst they may not be intentional, whilst if something goes wrong and players get really badly injured, they should be given the full force of the law. So, Satili Tupanua, we lost him with he raised his knee. It went wrong. Piakura contributed to it going wrong with the knee was raised before he put his head down, put in the wrong spot. Can't believe he's playing and can't believe that he didn't get head binned for anything that happened to him. Just makes a mockery of the whole thing. We've got Cleese Haas, Isaac Fa'asuamaleaui, Arama Howe, he's a second rower, and Josiah Pahulu, who is linked to coming to the Bulldogs. Apparently we've gone cold on it. Maybe that's why they've got him playing. But that was all played out in the media. Bulldogs never really said anything about it. The extended reserves, Tony Francis, David Fafita, who's still a chance to play, you must say. Jacob Alekwenke, you got Tukamiya Simpkins, don't know much about him, and Alan Fitzgibbon, who's got a real cult following and and goes all right. So, look, we predicted that the side would include, obviously, Bailey Hayward going to 5'8" for the Bulldogs, Daniel Saluka-Fafita starting, and then many of us thought that obviously Kurt Moran would take a space on the bench, and I thought Lipboy Hopboy would definitely be getting his chance this week. He's been named as number 19, which is the 18th man for the Bulldogs, and Blake Taff has been called into the side. Now, I'm not sure why they need to carry an extra half, but I guess it's to keep that style of having a Kurt Mann and a Bailey Hayward type on the bench. So that sort of person who can play half, get into dummy half if need be. I'm sure Taff must be... look, if Taff plays, I hope they're planning on using him for more than 3 minutes, is what I've got to say on that. You would expect if Taff is playing that Curtis Moran's going to play more than 12 minutes. And Kurt's been going well in New South Wales Cup, especially the last couple of weeks. He's been huge. Harry Hayes is quickly establishing himself as a must-pick top 17 player. And Kurt Mann, obviously, we're a much better team with Kurt Mann in it. The rest of the side picks itself, King, Saluka-Fafita, Kickout, Preston and Salmon. Reid Marnie there at 9. Toby and Bailey in the halves. And our normal back 5, which will be looking to bounce back after being humbled in that first half. We've talked enough about the Broncos game. People... I was watching Cooper Cronk and Matty Johns talking about how Madge broke down the Bulldogs. And look, I must say they talked a big game with it. on how that, getting the forwards combining with the halves, and look, they know a lot more about rugby league than I do, and they've got to produce content, right? And they like to get down dirty. And they said some positive stuff about the Dogs along the way, but talking about how the forwards interacting with the halves and the defensive line can't compress and get numbers into the tackle over it. Well, look, I felt that was a bit of overkill, to be honest. If our defensive line hasn't had players rushing up one out that close to the line, they've been definitely running out, but together. And when they turned it back to Willison, someone broke the line and rushed out and broke the system, and then missed the tackle when they used some footwork on us. If the line is held, sure, it might be tough. It might have been getting tough. We still may have conceded at some point. Willison was running our little men all day. When they pointed out when Critter kicked I spoke about this as well when Shibasaki's try. I pointed that out in the review on the Saturday, how they brought Crichton into the play because he kicked the drop kick, and they knew what they were doing. And by the time he'd made that second tackle, like, Billy Waters knew he was going out to hunt, who was going to throw the cutout, and our numbers just did not respond and react. And I think it was the bloke, what's his name, Denon Kemp, talked about that like it was the greatest thing of all time. But it's happened to numerous clubs. There's numerous coaches doing that sort of stuff all the time. But because it was just such a 34-0 and at Suncorp, and with all the drama that happened in the game, and because it's Madge Maguire, they're going to talk it up as just an absolute masterclass. Now, there was also lots of talk about Montoya coming off the wing. And again, it's just a product of the situation when the team's tired, we're losing the ruck, and, we're getting players sin-binned and they're getting piggy penalties upfield. The defence compresses, and then Adam Reynolds with probably his best game I've ever seen, over 80 minutes. Although I felt probably in that second half we nullified him a lot just through our effort and what we did. But, what he was able to, by kicking those balls, it made it look like Montoya had done something wrong. Well, if he was doing the wrong thing, he'd be dropped. I'll tell you that now. It's up in your defence, guys. Like, it's been happening forever. The halfback's job is to exploit things and execute those plays. And look, a young halfback, I would expect like a Sam Walker would have been doing the exact same thing to us there. And halves that are really good at that sort of stuff and with the placement. And, if we're conceding through the ruck there and they're just getting a roll on through fatigue and help, and they earn a lot of stuff too. You got to give them their just rewards, but they'll give it as much as they earned as well, if you know what I mean. Being a biased Bulldogs supporter, they were the perfect plays and they executed them and did a good job. And I was just proud of the boys for still trying to win the match with 8 minutes to go. That's what I love. They weren't there just to try and throw the ball around and score some tries and make the scoreboard look pretty. They got to work in that second half and earned everything they got, and were trying to win it. They not 1 ounce of give up in them. Proud of them. All right, let's get to your comments. Mondi, hello, mate. Shouted about last week's game, but we move on. Hopefully we can win them this week. Sucks about all those suspensions. It certainly does. And look, the suspension on Curran would have got 1 week, and for that grade 2, and probably on scope of it all, I can almost agree that was right. But he gets 3 weeks because of the shot that happened in the trial match that shouldn't have happened. He shouldn't have been suspended for that. Complete accident. It was like those other contacts, like where he's standing there and the other guy, Burton levels Jagowski or whatever his bloody name is. I can never pronounce it. and he falls into Curran's shoulder, and Curran gets 1 week from a trial match. And now that's made it 3 weeks. So that's why he gets 3 weeks. People don't understand how it works. And they go, how come Latrell got 1 week? I don't care how much people hate Latrell or how much I dislike him sometimes. The guy he hit, like, was nearly on the ground where he hit him. Like, if he runs at normal height, he hits him in the waist. Like, it was that low. But that leads me to the Satilli suspension for his shoulder. I put that on All Things Bulldogs. I slowed it down. I took photos. He had his arm, he had his arm behind Montoya. Montoya's made contact first, probably almost high, to be honest. And Satilli's fully bent his back in that scenario and tackled in. The players dropped a little bit, and he's collected him on the chin. But for his knee, you lift your knee and someone gets injured, you wear the consequences. Simple as that. But everything else, that weekend, all I'll say is that, like, Montoya was a square up, right? They said multiple infringements, meaning that what Satilli had just got penalised for a high contact. We already had 2 players sin binned for high contacts. So they decided that they were going to sin bin Montoya for multiple head contacts from our team, when that was just bullshit. It was just a square up for not doing anything about Satilli, the tackle before. And, obviously didn't get charged or anything like that. Complete accident. And some of those calls on the weekend for other teams were even worse than the ones we copped. Ours were more closer to penalties, if you're going to penalise, than the shit that went down in the majority of other games. And then you got the Isaiah one where Turbo falls down and he gets hit in the face. Like, they're saying that should have been a sin bin. Well, consistency-wise, it should have been. But no, that's Turbo fell and his arm's not raised high. If your arm's not raised high or your arm's chopping downwards, I don't care where you hit them. If your arm's going downwards on a downward trajectory and they fall and you clip them on the face or whatever, it shouldn't be what they're doing with it. Like, and some of these media, Jimmy Smith and all that, they're all culpable in this because they don't want nothing fixed, right? Some media really want to get it sorted, but the likes of Jimmy Smith and a whole bunch of others, Buzz and all that, they don't want it fixed. They don't want it fixed. They want to sit there and sympathise when not enough's done, and then criticise when too much is done. That's how they sell advertising. That's how they stay relevant. They're not interested in fixing it, because if they were, they'd ask the right questions, which would lead us to the end game. And Gus, thankfully, on 100% footy, said he's been watching these gaslighting interviews of CEOs for 50 years. The contacts are still high. There's still high contact. There's still penalties. There's still suspensions. There's still send-offs. But what are they trying to achieve? And he called it a combat sport, which is the terminology I've been using for ages that they're starting to use. They've always said contact sport. It's a combat sport, and we need to use that terminology to protect the game from the future for the professionals. Because if they're saying they care about the juniors and the park footballers, they're full of shit. There's plenty of park footballers who are questioning their choices when they can't string 2 words together because of the amount of head knocks they copped, coupled with, the drinking sessions and the partying that goes with country football. But they're not getting looked after, are they? No one cares about them. So anyway, sorry, I do go on, and I know people aren't. I'm probably sick of hearing about it, and I don't blame you. But I put a petition up, and we've got over 600 signatures, and I've got some media involved. And the NRL come out and have started to try and do their thing, which is say, oh, there was no crackdown. Honestly, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. We're the big forward pack with our smaller pack. How do you think this plays out, mate? Let's get on to it, Sayed. Thank you. Good question. Well, I think many would say the bigger pack of the Broncos in the wet weather was an advantage last week. We had a very small pack against the Roosters going back last year in the wet, and a player like Blake Taff, Kurt Mann, I think, started that game, and they were able to really generate some ambush on the Roosters in that game. Now, whilst we got the yips numerous times, and the Roosters had players sent off, and it's sort of a similar thing to what we had on Friday night, to be honest. But still, we had a more of a mobile pack. It's intriguing. They say, styles make fights, and I think that it's interesting the side the Titans have picked, to be honest. G'day, Mike. Welcome. How are you, buddy? Good to see you. G'day, James, and thanks for joining, James. Thanks to everyone who's joined the channel. Really, really happy about that. It makes me really happy and feel humble. Taft selection might be putting Marnie on notice. Oh, James, you're nearly igniting something in me. I think if that's the case, if they're looking to start playing, I think on Friday they would have put Hayward on for another 25 minutes and brought Marnie off as the hooker. I think they're planning on doing that again, like they did against Souths, and it's obviously future planning. And I have no doubt that I don't think Reid Marnie will be at the club post this contract. Some people say it sooner, and I've talked about that. I think he's the most courageous person in our team. I think that he plays with a lot of. I think he's an emotional person. I think he and that comes across in the way he plays because he puts it all on the line. He's courageous. He's a champion, but his emotions can get the better of him, and I think they could get. That could be. I think the way it works with our salary cap, and I always say, look at Penrith from where they started and where they are now, and now they're starting to feel the effects of losing too many of the next ones up that couldn't wait long enough to stay and went to other clubs. I think the way the system works is when you outplay your value based on the salary cap, you got to remember Gus Gould is forward planning 4 years. So he's already looking at this. He's sitting there going, well, I reckon this player will be playing NRL by then. These players will still be at their club. None of these will be there if we have it our way. And if the ones that we think are going to do what they're going to do, they will progress. If they don't, if that plan falls on its ass, we adjust from there. But I think a hooker, you saw the Panthers, they let go of Api Coruscant, right? Until Mitch Kenny, they waited for Mitch Kenny to be ready. They still had Sonny Luke in the squad, who's the same age as Luai and Edwards and Cleary, right? Played in the same group as them. Still in the system, but a lot of injuries, but really talented. You outplay your value, they don't even insult you with an offer. So, and sometimes they would help forward plan, like tell a player, like, it's likely we won't be keeping you in a couple of years, but let's win a premiership, because this is how it works. Like, you're going to be worth this much, but we only have this much available for that position, and that sort of thing, based on where we've got our money invested over the next couple of years. So you see the teams years in advance, right? You see who's there for 27 and who's there for 28 and 26 and how it all comes up. And you go, oh, okay. And then you see the development of a Bailey Hayward, and you go, well, he can't throw a ball off the deck like Marnie. But then you're starting to see some game. Oh, he's just done that like Marnie for 25 minutes, and he's tackling and he's talking and motivating the guys. He's a real talker out there. He looks really calm, and he's trusted by, when you got Viliami kick out talking up Bailey Hayward, that was really interesting for me. Here and now, he said Bailey is like tells me where I got to go and what I've got to do. So he could be someone they're looking at as a career Bulldog, right? And then you look at a Reed Marnie as an emotional guy. Maybe he's would be like, well, stuff that. I would think that Reed Marnie would want to stay at Canterbury and stay there for the rest of his career. But I don't think our salary cap and our head of football sees it the same way. And if that's the case, it could create a little bit of a, bit of off-field stuff. Who knows? But I'm sure it'd be emotional. And, I wish they would keep Reed Marnie because I love him. I really do. But as I say, I love the club more. And I trust the club. So it's emotional, and we should be respectful as we can. And hopefully it all works out for all parties. And I hope the next contract Reed gets, whether it's with Canterbury or another club, is, a real big payday, because I still think that his 4-year deal at $625,000 for what he's had to endure coming to our club from where we were, and the amount he's put his body through the absolute ringer, he probably deserves a bit more than that. And I think he'll be worth more money. Well, let's hope so. Back to the wet weather. I didn't really answer your question there, Sayed, and I'm sorry about that. I really don't know. The ground could be choppy. You've got, a big forward pack. I'm still not sure if Blake Taff will play. Lipoi Hopboy's been outstanding the last 2 weeks, and Taff's been really good as well in his position. But Lipoi Hopboy's been making line breaks through the middle and scoring tries and setting them up. It's funny because we saw Jack Todd do a lot of that sort of stuff, and he's starting to do it as well, which is great. And if he gets to play, I think it just gives us more balance. I still feel we're mobile, we're not overly big, but it comes down to the game plan that they think is going to be best for the Titans. And if that's Blake Taff, I hope Taff gets some minutes, because I think in that Newcastle game they really could have brought Taff on to exploit the middle a lot earlier, and I think we score some more points. But that's all. Could have, should have, maybe not. Taff on the bench is questionable. He's been playing well in New South Wales Cup, but it was a genuine spot for the likes of Hopper or Underhill, in my opinion. Well, Underhill can't play yet, mate. He's not development until next year, so he's not, unless they got compensation or dispensation, which they could have, but others would have to go down ahead of him, whereas Hopboy is available. I think it comes down to what they think is going to work. It was, look, I thought Hopboy would be there. I thought he'd be there before Moran, to be honest, even though both have been playing really well, and so has Taff. But if he's got a plan to use Taff, or it could be a situation where, look, they might even start with Bailey and put Bailey back to the bench and start Taff in the halves. You never know. There's lots of options. We know the order of business, right? We're pretty close. Lipoi Hopboy's, many are still expecting him to play, including me, but he may not. But it was either going to be Lipoi or Moran that missed out for Blake Taff. So there you go. Doggies by 13 says gratitude. Doggies by 13. Wonderful. Doggies by 20 says Sam. Welcome, Sam. Thank you for coming along. Jake Turpin on the extended bench, you reckon he'll come into the 17? Well, I think Jake Turpin is probably higher up the pecking order than people realise, based on his defensive capabilities, and I think he'll play a game of first grade this season at some point. But no, I don't think he'll come in this week. But in saying that, they've got 3 hookers named in the New South Wales Cup squad in Otakulo, Ruben Moyle and Jake Turpin. Evening, Timmy. Thanks for being a member again, mate. You've been to Canterbury's Leagues Club and had my Bulldogs jersey signed by Montoya, Woods and Critter. Oh, that's bloody wonderful, mate. That's absolutely brilliant. I like the look of the 17 name for this Sunday. Do you think there'll be any late changes before kickoff? Yeah, well, I talked about that. There could be. I reckon Hit Boy might come in. And we'll talk about Sexton and Marnie after this, because part of me is thinking one of them stays, one of them goes. That's what I'm thinking. Could be wrong. Montoya got caught out twice in those kicks by R. He didn't get caught out, Sam. So this is something that I'll tell you something now. If he's getting caught out, he's getting dropped. If you're out of position, you're getting dropped. I know he hadn't missed a tackle before then. If he starts missing tackles he should make, he gets dropped. If he drops heaps of balls from bombs, he gets dropped. If he's not putting in the work, he gets dropped. He dropped 2 footies in the last 8 minutes when we're playing catch-up. I have no issue with that. I wish he caught him. He didn't. Game was gone, even though they believed that they could win, and he felt like he'd lost the game for the team, which is exactly what you want him to feel. We could have won that match, and I lost it for us. But I'm telling you now, this is what people did to our wingers and our centres when we were suffering, right? They see it, and these commentators will say it too, because they don't get it. When we're out there on the field, when you lose the middle and other teams are on a roll and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, and you're not slowing them down enough, when you're not controlling that ruck, when you're going to make tackles and you're getting pulled up for leg pulls, where the leg's barely off the fucking ground, when you just had players sent off, you've been playing that first half with no, for 20 minutes of that first half with only 12 men, you're going to get exposed. And there's only a few halfbacks with the experience and the balls that actually would do that. And I always said, Adam Reynolds sets up tries for wingers better than anyone. That was one of his best games. And Dean Mariner, they're probably more worried about Farmworth on the other side. They go Dean Mariner. They're worrying about Staggs. They want to get numbers in on him. The fullback knew where Montoya was. The halfback knew where he was. The system knows where he's supposed to stand. So let's try and, before we go out there and start, when we see these things in motion, because that's what I go, fucking Montoya, why are you in so far? And then I go watch it and I go, it was where he's supposed to be. That's the system. Sometimes there's teams that play certain ways and they get exposed when they can't defend in a certain way. And we weren't able to defend in a certain way that we want to. It was a stop-start game. The ball was only in play like about 10 minutes less than what we're used to. It was frustrating to watch. Cameron Serrato was 100% right. And, it just suited them perfectly. And I don't blame Montoya for that. Carraz, they got around Carraz. They got, Carraz on that right edge didn't adjust when Critter made 2 tackles in a row. Well inside. And couldn't. It happened to Wilson numerous times this year, but it wasn't Wilson's fault. You see, Critter, he's not blaming he didn't blame Wilson. He'd be blaming, what are you doing, Presto? What are you doing, Toby? You're late to your assignment and you've given them the overlap. Or you've been sucked into the decoy and given them a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2. That's where this team's mind is at. It's not about blaming wingers. The coaches in the NRL, and I speak to, I've got the book of the rugby league coach. I'm learning all the time. They don't blame these bloody wingers, mate. They only blame the wingers that are coughing up ball under pressure. And, I'm not having a crack at anyone because we see the game like that. But it's how the pieces come together. It's a game of chess. That was the checkmate play. But they set that play up with 4 or 5 other moves beforehand. And that is where the game is won and lost. You still got to execute your checkmate, right? You still got to execute it. You got to have everyone take the bait, and sometimes people are really good at defending that last piece, and they put their pawns in the right spots. But it's a game of chess and a simple game. But they exposed our weaknesses and exploited them to the absolute max, with the assistance of some really piggyback penalties, some contacts that were missed initially by the ref and then got later, So I'll always stand up for wingers and centres, always. Thanks, Timmy. How long is Hats on contract with the Broncos? Bulldogs need to sign him when he gets off contract. We'll never get Payne Haas. And he's an outlier. Look, there's players that don't influence the scoreboard. And look, Payne Haas can influence the scoreboard more, I believe. I actually think he could. I always look at a game with Payne Haas and go, fuck, he's good, but he could be better, which is scary. And that game, they would say he dominated us and he was the best player on the field. The dog pack jammed him into error a couple of times. Absolutely drove him backwards. So our team's got some heart and some balls, man. And look, he's an outlier. When you say Payne Haas and you talk about $1 million props, he's probably the one player that deserves $1 million. All these people want to pay $1 million for Adam Fanua-Blake and all that. No. Sorry, no. 800 grand max, 850 max. We pay it for Leo Thompson because he's young and he's been playing above his age and he looks like he's got the mental sort of approach. He's a real leader among men, and he's rated very highly by good people, trusted people in the game, which is why we would pay, almost as much for him as we would for Stephen Crichton, based on his skill set and his leadership and his potential. Okay. Perth's already after him. He's probably 1.5 for Perth, but yeah. Gus needs to sign Haas at whatever the cost. Gus won't. Gus will never sign anyone at whatever the cost, because if he does that player gets injured, what are you left with? You're getting more value, and they've proven this already. And you look at the great clubs pay their spine really good money. Grant's getting good money. You look at Melbourne and Penrith, their spine's getting good money. Sometimes there's a bit of an anomaly there. Like, you don't think Mitch Kenny's on 700 grand, is he? He's probably one of the lowest paid hookers. He's probably on 500. And really tough and important in that team. But their fullbacks finally got the upgrade to be a 850, 900 grand player over many years. Their halfbacks on 1.4. They now don't have a 5'8". So they've invested, $500,000 in one that's probably going to be worth a lot in a few years. They pay a lot for their lock because he acts as another half. They play a lot. They've got a system. And the Storm gets value out of players like Bronson Garlick, I should say, Sean's son. who was at the Bulldogs in reserve grade. They get value out of players like Nick Mooney. You know, we bought the Fox for 500. They got Coates and Mooney for 400 between them, or 450 it was. Right? So we pay 550 for a player. They get two players who are going to they've brought more value, you would say. Nick Mooney kicking goals and playing a range of positions. Xavier Coates, really great finisher as well. Had a few injuries. Get some yardage work done. He's hard to stop. You know, they get better value out of their players. They get value out of people you haven't heard of. And they've started now developing those developed players are starting to come through, like kids they've had in their system for a long time. And people they've persevered with. They've persevered with Liero and Josh King and Kamakika and all that sort of stuff. Sorry, I said his name wrong. They're all fringe now. They're regulars. And they've got good value out of them. They're not paying them a fortune. And they're top four all the time. They're nearly winning comps. They're expected to win this comp. Then they go and buy an Oitikamanu for 800 grand. Right? A final piece to their puzzle. And if they can keep him fit, they'll expect to be playing in the last couple of weeks of September, at least. Look, in saying that, Sam, if it's announced that Payne Haas is coming to the Bulldogs, because I'll tell you something now, the sponsors wanted Payne Haas and thought they were going to get him. You know, there was lots of talk about Payne coming to the Bulldogs. But as far as discussions with Gus and the actual club, out of our price range, for what our cap needs to do, we're not finished building our cap. Our squad still doesn't get the same amount of return. You know, if Melbourne buy our squad, they've got another $3 million in change, right? If we said, all right, how much would you pay for our squad? They'd pay about $9 million. That's the truth. That's the truth. Give or take. But what would it cost for us to buy the Melbourne squad from them in entirety? It cost us about 14 million. Now, I reckon we're getting on par now. I reckon we're almost worth our cap. So I'll backtrack a little bit. I think we're almost worth our cap. But there's clubs that are worth 25% more than their cap or 30% more than their cap. If you can be worth your cap, you're going to compete for finals. If you get over that point, you can start really competing for titles. And that's where it's at. And they're not going to destroy our cap in order to, you know, try and buy a premiership with a Payne Haas. Because he hasn't won one with the Broncos yet. I will say that, although they should have. Timmy says Jake named in cup. He sure is, mate. I thought they said round 7 to 9 or something. So Jared says, agree, mate. There's a lot to be learnt from what is happening at the Panthers. 100%. G'day, Blaze. Welcome. Sam Hughes, round 12. Round 12, Gus said on Sam Hughes. Mondo, I wouldn't be surprised if Sarah swaps Taft to 18th man, Hit Boy comes in. Yeah, me either, mate. Like, honestly, most fans who have been watching closely, which is why the dog father sits there and gets most predictions right, because it's just the nature of the business. It's the order of the day. You know, they know who comes in and who goes out. You know, they're not sitting there thinking on the run, oh, we need to change this. We need to fit this person in somewhere. There's none of that. When this opportunity comes up for this position, this person moves in. If something else happens, this person comes in. They know where the pieces fit, right? So I wouldn't be surprised either, because I think Hopboy fits that, unless they really want to build into their game that they've got that player like a Kurt Mann and a Bailey Hayward as your 14 and 17. And then you have your two in the middle, which could be big, small, whoever's there willing to run hard and tackle hard and cover the space. and get involved and go and do whatever they're told. And that this week that's Moran and Harry Hayes, right? 2 juniors, 2 former captains in lower grades. So there you go. Tony says, how many minutes do you anticipate DSF playing? I think he'll play at least 20. And if we're running downhill, he'll play more. So if it's a case of it's a bit of a grind and he tries to play 20 minutes and then they bring Harry Hayes on for him. And Max King, they'll try and get him to play as many minutes as they can as well. Try and get him playing probably 60, 65 minutes if they can, which will mean they'd be expecting Harry Hayes to play. I think they might get Kurt Mann to play a few more minutes this week. And don't be surprised if Moran plays way more than he was. 35, you reckon Mondi for DSF? G'day, Bilal. Welcome. Yo. Timmy. I agree Hot Boy has been very good in New South Wales Cup. Zion Ma'u isn't far away either, but hopefully Sam Hughes is back for the game against the Dolphins, similar to what they did with Carraz before the bye. Yeah, maybe, mate. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Timmy does in that scenario. I'm not sure whether Sam comes straight back. It'll all depend on how fit he is and what they think they can do and get out of him and who else they've got. Based on the fact Tupanua's not there and that may fall in his favour. Zion, I'm not sure, mate. We'll see how he goes. He's been frustrating to watch because you can see he's winding up and he really wants to get out there and make a big difference. You can see it. You can really see it. But it's like things just haven't gone his way. It's a little bit frustrating with Zion. Welcome, champion. Boys will have the Magic Round curse in mind and come out firing this week, expecting a massive turnaround, even with our outs. Always positive as usual, Andrew. And thank you very much for saying hello, my friend. Yeah, I can't argue with any of that, nor would I want to. Matty Burton. My daughter loves that song. One of the best songs going around. Who do you have winning between the Storm and the Raiders? Also, Titans are in the logjam down the bottom of the ladder. Do you think it'll be a lot closer than the round 2 match? Look, mate, I look at the two sides and I feel we've got the advantage, Timmy. Really good question. Thank you for asking. I think the Dogs need to go out there and play tough, uncompromising footy and and make sure that they do all the things that they did. You go back on that second half where they just got to work, kick long. Burton didn't kick that much. His knee worries that, they're easing him back into the kicking. You tried a Burton bomb late in the game at some point, but he's not there. I think they're just going to get to work, try and grind the Titans and grind them into submission. And that's where I think they're going to go. Are they going to try and throw some punches at the Titans that we don't expect? Bring out some things practice some plays in attack that we might not have seen much of. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. But I know Jacob Preston will be devastated after that drop ball, which was the start of the rot. I'll be expecting a huge game from Preston. And he played well. He gives his 100% every game. You just count on it. Mistake or two, oh, well. Overall, just champion. But I know from watching that, I reckon he's going to get out there and he'll be a real dog. And, yeah, I'm expecting those boys to bounce back and bounce back hard, real hard. But Titans are going to be hard to beat. They'll have the pro crowd there. Everyone's expecting the Bulldogs to fall apart now. Now the Broncos pulled our pants down. We will see. We will see. Titans will be desperate side following the week. Titans play the Knights. Yeah, well they got to start winning, or they could say kiss their ass goodbye to finals, and Des Hasler becomes under a lot more trouble. They do some things well in games, if they put it together for 75 minutes, they're going to go a long way to winning a game. People talk about 80 minutes. I'm like, 70, 75, yeah. It's usually all you need. How you going, Scary? And once again, thank you for joining the channel. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, mate. I'm really well. Everyone's hopeful we're going to smash the Titans on Sunday. They've lost 4 in a row. Whenever a team is on that run, they are dangerous. They are, because I think they're going to get to work. They're going to go to work. They're going to try and beat us through the middle and exploit us on our edges where their strengths are. That's where it's going to happen. They're going to try and play us through the middle, and we know what's coming. And I expect they're going to the likes of Bo Fermor and that will be looking to get the offloads happening. Tino, we know that he's got that late offload in him, and I've seen him score so many tries off the backs of second phase offloads, and they got the players to exploit it. They got the speed. And Brimson is just an out and out little. If an AJ Brimson comes to Canterbury on low money, you go, cool. Been injured a fair bit, but fuck, he's a little terrier. He goes hard. He dead set hates losing. They all do, but they're dangerous everywhere. Dangerous everywhere, and obviously we want to. It's the same sort of call of business. They got a bigger fullback this time. He's more bigger. He's more in that Tommy Turbo style. He's rangy. He's not your little munchkin like Keanu Kinney. But you still want to snap him. But I think they'll be looking to, I think Billy Army Kickout is going to have a real target on their 7. No doubt at all about that. Oh, yuck, look at me. Let's go back like that. Timmy, Titans are going to try to start fast, but we'll need to start faster. Well, we started fast against them last game, 22-0, and then basically they won the rest of the game. It was pretty even after that. But we had some, we lost 2 players during that match. We had some adversity to go through. Lucky we had that lead, and we earned that lead, and it was in front of our home fans who were like, oh, we're 22-0 up. Can't we just win a game at Belmore 50-0? Why does it have to be this angst where the Titans look like they're going to overrun us? Nothing's easy at Belmore. Great days. The fans deserve an absolute annihilation. My pleasure, mate. I love the channel and watch whenever I can. Thank you, mate. Pretty funny if we get Hasler sacked. I'll tell you what, we go out there without Burton, without Curran, without Tupanua and put 50, 60 on them. There'll be a lot of people calling for it. I can tell you that now. Very interesting. Timmy says if we take the second half into the first 40 minutes and Titans play like they did in the second half, we will win. We got out to a 22-0 start of the match last time we played the Titans. We certainly did, my friend. We certainly did. So thanks to everyone who stayed on the podcast. I know there's a few ones on now, I'll go back to 3 o'clock as Team Tuesday comes out and see if another podcaster follows me back there, but we will see. Look, the great thing about these Bulldogs podcasts from all the different fans, I watched the Local Legends one. I think that come out. That started I don't know if it's live either, but it cracks me up. Absolute legends. I watch them all. I support them all. And you'd hope that they all support everyone else as well. Touchline, I watch them all because, you know, they love Canterbury, and sometimes you learn stuff on them as well. So I just say, you don't have to pick one person. You can go watch everyone's. But yeah, anyway. That's just the way it goes. So just seeing people are sending me some messages, some private ones. So I thought I'd check them. Timmy says, I love Joey's passion about the crackdown with the sin bins over the weekend. Yeah, it was very, very important, mate. And it needed to happen. So you got Joey basically saying sin bins have got to stay out, which is very, very important. You've got Brandy Alexander coming out and saying that you can send all those players off. You can fine them $50,000 and suspend them for 12 months or 12 weeks or whatever it is. It's not going to change a thing. You got Gus Gould come out and say the game has been trying to deal with this for 50 years and it's still happening. You've got the terminology starting to be used. So thank you to all the people who got behind the petition so far, and thank you to the people who have continued to voice their opinion about it. Because it's not about being a Neanderthals. I don't want people getting hit in the head. And when I go and watch the juniors play and watch kids play, I don't want them getting hurt. But let's not disguise what this is all about. They obviously are worried about litigation, which the way litigation works, if you know something is causing an issue and you don't take steps to fix that issue, you're liable, right? So as soon as you know about it, you're liable. So that's why waivers, right? If sin bins, if they can't go back in time to penalise someone for a high contact, less people will lie down. If they just say it doesn't matter if you lie down, we send you off for HIA. If a ref calls it a penalty, not stop the game, penalty, high contact, and they get it wrong, they get it wrong. They're trying to protect the players, right? They sin bin someone. If they penalise it straight away, Bunker can, I guess, look at it because they're not going back in time. But if they're sitting there stopping the game, look, and no, that's absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. And we can't allow people to sit there and try and sit there and be the judges of it all and say, because that just keeps it all clouded. You're never going to get everything 100% right. And we know that, which is why the refs can call it, the touch judges can call it, and then the match review committee can do what it's got to do later. And then you have the provision of 2 fresh reserves that are there in case a player cops any sort of injury from foul play, or if they are ruled out of a game due to concussion. Right? Now, the other thing is with that is as well, if the replay shows that someone had a hip drop done, but it wasn't picked up at the time, that player can be replaced. And then the player's put on report, but there's no penalty, there's no sin bin, right? They are accidents. They're accidents. And ask some players about hip drops that have ruined their careers, young players that were flying, and how the hip drop has ruined their entire career. Ask Bailey Biondiotto about hip drops. I'm sure he'd be real happy with what happened to him in the semi-final against the Parramatta Eels, or that ended his career with the Bulldogs and his opportunity. Because Gus liked Bailey, I remember him saying it. He saw a future with him. I don't know what happened after that, and don't pretend I do know. But the point I'm making is that you've got to be able to protect teams that suffer foul play And you got to be able to protect the teams that have committed an accident through incidental contact. And this like Annesley said today, we're still going to crack down on, he didn't say crack down, we're still going to penalise and sin bin people who use moderate force. Jimmy Smith echoing that. No, if you use moderate force means average, moderate, average to low. If you're standing there, someone falls into your shoulder because defender number one's cut them down, and then it's just lowered them into your shoulder. They're still saying that still should be a sin bin because you're liable. They're still saying that. Bullshit. Accident. No fine, no penalty. But if the player suffers a concussion, because sometimes a player will actually get hit in the temple, right? Without it being the defender's fault. They've fallen into it. I'm not talking about a Reece Walsh incident we saw lately. When you lose control, when your eyes are shut and you're flying through the air and you hit someone in the head, too fucking bad. That's different. It's different. Whether it was good technique or not, doesn't matter. It's different. If you're standing there and they fall into your shoulder and everyone tackles with the shoulder. Joey John said it perfectly. You can't tackle with your arms. You get your arms broken. You tackle with your shoulder. And I've said it hundreds of times. When you got a coach there and they teach you to tackle when you're a kid, they teach you just hands behind your back, tackle him. How do I do that? With your shoulder. In the ribs. Around the waist. Right? That's how we're all taught. And you got players running off the back fence against you. What are you supposed to do? And penalising people when there's no head contact, but they turn their shoulder to embrace for it, that's bullshit as well. We've got to get rid of it. Protect the game. It's a combat sport. If it doesn't appeal to young people, and when I was a kid, when I saw the damage being done and, applauding all the big hits, I wanted to go and be in that position. I soon realised it wasn't the position I wanted to be in, and I got winded the first time, right? But, and you suck in the air as you get hit it's horrible. It's one of the worst feelings you could ever have. You cop one in the chin and whatever else, like it's not nice. But the kids love it. They play and they want more of it. They love the contact. You can't tell me Jacob Preston doesn't love the contact. He's sitting there in the ice bath. He's got bumps and bruises all over him. He's like, fuck yeah, I love it. I love it. I want to hit him. Tom Gilbert, all these players, you think they don't love the contact? Yet they act like, oh, mum won't let Jimmy play because that person got concussed. They've always known. But maybe the game is too fast and there's other things they can look at as well. What kind of mic have you got? I'm looking to buy one. Yours seems pretty neat. It says it's a Falcon. A Falcon or a Falco Talloman. I think it was about $85 off Amazon, something like that. Yeah, it goes all right. It's got pretty colours and stuff. It's great. Love seeing Jonathan Sewer getting a run in the centres. Yes, thanks for bringing that up, Andrew. Thank you. Get me off this other shit. Jonathan Sewer. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. What a talent. Jeffro and Jonathan. Wow. You're talking about getting on the outside of teams. You're talking about getting, punching through the line out of yardage. You're talking about finishing. You're talking about high balls. Wow, these kids. Unfortunately, someone's going to pay huge money for them to play in a wing or centre position. And I don't know, the timing of where they are, but defensively still got stuff to work on, no doubt. But God, what a talent. He's got the best footwork, Jonathan Sewer. He is a talent, man. Oh, go watch. I did a focus video on him. Go watch it. And then go look for highlights. I'm sure Macca's probably shared some highlights of him. Macca shares stuff to me for the kids and that. He's always watching them. He's only kidding himself, aren't you, Macca? Tigers versus Dragons, massive game. Yeah, and they've scapegoated Lachlan Ilias and brought in the young fella they've just extended. And Kyle Flanagan's still there, of course. G'day, Baron. Oh, Bulldogs are the dirtiest team in the comp. Thanks for joining, Baron. Do you want to join the channel? Who are you, brother? I'm gonna favourite that. Let's star it. Well done, mate. Good comment. We're the toughest team in the comp, brother. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great life. Are you a Broncos supporter? Baron, are you from where are you from, mate? Where are you living? I reckon you're a Bronx supporter, aren't you? You live up way north of Australia and you love the Broncos. I bet. That's all right. Too good for us. Too good for us. Timmy, all 3 games on Saturday are massive. Don't want to be the loser in those games. It's a long way back for some of those teams. Oh, mate, Timmy, you should be on this podcast tonight. You and Macca between you. I'll tell you what. I think you should be starting your own podcast because I think you do really well. Mondai, yeah, mate, it's a great competition. We're starting to get into June. Origin's coming up. It's getting exciting. And, teams are, what happens to Penrith if they lose this week? They're playing the Broncos. I think a lot of people like Penrith are going to do something this week. No Brian Toto. He's so important to them. And Mitch Kenny. I think Mitch Kenny wasn't there last week. He was there the week before and they had a big win. It makes a huge difference when you got 3 of your main spine there. When they're relying on Summerton and bloody Schneider to fill that hole. It's just, they'll be better for the run, but it's just not the same. You need that connection and cohesion that they have in that top grade. And you take out Edwards, you take out Kenny, take out Cleary, take out Yo, and then don't have that punch out of yardage that Toho gives. It just makes it too hard for them. But many people will be expecting them to come out and be an absolute pain in the Broncos' ass this week. Although some I think the Broncos are going to put 50 on them. So has the side put 50 on Penrith yet? That's something we've got to look at. Has a team put 50 on Penrith yet? Because if you've had 50 put on you, you can't win a comp. The Rabbits got really close after they had 50 put on them in consecutive weeks in 2021. The Manly sin bin and Tigers sin bin actually look like the bunker were trying to change the outcome of those games. Absolutely baffling calls. Yeah, well, Takiaho, and isn't he playing well? Like, he might have been all right for us. He's going all right. See Takiaho. And obviously liked by Canterbury and Gus, and was training with our facilities and stuff to get himself an opportunity. And got his leg right and that sort of stuff. But those sin bits were disgraceful. Paule's one was, look, they're sitting there at the back of the contact, and Nathan Brown did one a couple of weeks ago too, where I think they sin binned him. He's actually moving backwards to catch the player, and the fella just sort of ran into his shoulder. Like, you're fucking kidding me. And some of these players, I hate their guts. right? Not as a, I don't hate them, but like as a Bulldogs supporter and watches certain players and that, and I'm like, oh, fuck this player, I've got a long memory. But I'm like, I felt just so sorry for those players. Felt sorry for the fans at the game. But you know what? It's funny though, like when Sutton when they put the mic on him and the loudspeaker goes up around the crowd, it's like, knowing they're the home team as well, especially when the home team is the victim of the high contact, so they're sending off the opposition, the away team player. Wow. But just the drama, knowing the outrage, if it is the home team, knowing the outrage of the fans and the drama and the suspense, and they send the high contact with moderate force. It's on report in the bin, and it goes around the joint. You're kidding me. Part of me thinks they want this in matches. The other thing raised before I keep going down the comments, the only thing is some teams have been committing more high tackles than others. But I will say some teams are also good at copying more high tackles than others as well. And that's a stat they won't address. But and when I love their use of stats, they go, oh, going back last year, the first 8 rounds, there is way more high tackles. I'm like, there hasn't been more high tackles. They've penalised more high tackles. And knowing that in 2023 and I think in 2022, in both Magic rounds, they had similar crackdowns and did the exact same thing. So if we don't get a permanent change to the way they do it, what we're going to have is this pop up again and again and again and again. Start rewarding legs tackles. Start, you do a legs tackle. Instead of having to let go and get off them, they can't play the ball until the ref tells them that they can. It's a surrender. No, you can't play the ball. Slow the game for that second. Reward the legs tackle. Good technique practice. Got him one-on-one. The legs tackle hits first. I don't know. Or one-on-one legs tackle. Surrender. I think that's a good idea. I think the 2 fresh replacements is a good idea. So you're not negating either side. Sugar said from SEN that if someone gets in, they get an interchanged, and it costs them an interchange. Oh yeah, that's all right, but it's not a fix to the ridiculousness of the action. An action that isn't going to stop one head high contact. Surely, yes, there are some teams which maybe need to lower their target a bit, but I hate saying that because I think most teams are. The abuse of statistics it's just gaslighting and spin for the majority of people. It's done all the time. It's done for gambling purposes. It's done for people to make their point. Company CEOs are doing it every day to justify their salaries. And it goes down the line and then back up it again. These twerps will sit there going, in the first 8 rounds, there was more head-high tackles than there's ever been. No, you've just got someone actively looking for more. That's what you're doing. And because you got more cameras and you can slow it down and go, there actually was a tap on that person's head from that person's shoulder. And when we look from the impact of the whole thing, it looks worse and worse as well. Brendan Piakura didn't even go to the head bin, and he got smacked in twice from Satili's knees, heavily, and copped a shoulder from Satili in another tackle, and doesn't go to the head bin, and he's playing this week. So someone tell me Who's looking at, these protocols? Great. Really? You're not looking after them at all. If that's the case, how can he slip through? Why didn't anyone ask that? Why didn't Jimmy Smith today? Why didn't anyone ask why Brendan Periakura is playing this week? Tell me that. Why isn't anyone asking us that? When did the doctor check him? Didn't happen. That's the failure there. How they handle the protection of players after it. Not through the penalties, but through how they protect them going forward through the stand downs and that sort of stuff, which they're trying to improve all the time, which is what I'm grateful for if you've got kids playing footy. But to sit there, they put Jerome Luai in the head bin the other day based on the fact that people were like, well, he sort of got hit in the face, made everyone aware of it, stayed down because they didn't see it straight away. Then they look at it. Sin bin, the Cronulla player, I think it was Niokora. And then Jerome looked completely fine. There was nothing wrong with him, but they sent him to the head bin because he stayed down, and that should be the rule as well. You stay down, you go to the head bin, 15 minutes. Does that mean people are going to sit there and try and get up when they're injured or concussed? Well, they've got cameras on them. If they show symptoms, take them off. If they look really bad, take them off. But they're not going to stay down if they know that person can't be penalised or sin binned if the ref missed it at the first point, unless it was a send-off offence. A complete swing and arm where that person's been knocked out or can't move. And see, this is where we get the integrity back in the game through changes like that. That's what we need to see. Not this teetering around the edges bullshit, subjective shit where fans are outraged 1 week, sick of talking about it. The NRL come out and say, yeah, we're going to fix it. We're going to go back and make sure that it's mitigating and blah, blah, blah. And then, Origin, 3 people get hit in the head, nothing gets done. Next week, Sutton referees the Bulldogs and we lose 6 players at once and have to forfeit the game. That's the shit we're talking about. Mulatalo should be acting or awarded an Oscar for his milking of a high shot in the Sharks loss to the Tigers. Also, I love seeing the Sharks losing. Get that up your Buzz Slough field. 100%. I was barracking for the Tigers like they were Bulldogs the other day. The tackle come off the ball and then his hand just slipped up and touched his face. Like he was, oh, but he's trying to win the game. He's trying to win the game for his team. I'm glad the NRL said, nah, fuck off. I'm glad the bunker said fuck off to that. I'm glad the ref, probably had a whisper going, oh my God, that happened in front of me. What a wanker. But he's trying to win the game and he's trying to use the consistency of the rules that have been applied all weekend to get that leg up for his side and get a repeat set and a penalty, which probably hands him the football match the way it turns out. I can't blame him. And I've seen our players stay down a lot, especially for hip drops, because of the way that we were penalised and inconsistently penalised for it. For ones that they now deem as like complete accidents and couldn't have done anything and they let them go. Our guys stay down whenever there's force on their leg. I've seen it. They're trying to win the game. You got to call a spade a spade. G'day, Big Roo. Yeah, I'm suffering what you're suffering, mate. Jinxed the Dogs last week. Unfortunately, I'm going to Suncorp again. I'm not going to Magic Round. Could have got tickets last minute, but I decided against it. Got a lot of stuff I've got to do, by the way, beforehand, and I'm just going to enjoy it from home. But yeah, mate, it's not you. But it's funny. I spoke to at least 3 people that night that have all only watched the Bulldogs lose at Suncorp or at the Gold Coast, and little kids who have never seen us win in Brisbane. My daughter started crying. Like, she hasn't been following the game as hard as she used to. Way less than she used to. But when she got out there and saw him, the bulldog came out in her, and she was there backing me up. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry for swearing." She goes, "I've been swearing too." I said, "What? I'm a bad influence." So there you go. It's not us, Big Roo. It's not us, mate. It's not us who do it. A bit sweaty in here. I need to put on the fan. Sorry about that. Tim Hanna, that fake head high from Mulatalo was pathetic from an NRL player. It was pathetic. It was. Like, there's no doubting it. But he was trying to win the game for his team. But yeah, pathetic. Hopefully Lightning doesn't strike twice, and I'm confident we'll bounce back this week. Damo the Flag Man. G'day, Damo. Thank you very much. Hope you're well, mate. Newcastle night by the look of it. And, if you're selling flags, feel free to advertise in the comments after the game. After the podcast, you can go and put a comment, an official comment, not in the chat, but on an actual comment, and direct people to wherever you sell flags or whatever. Timmy, Jonathan Suarez could come in for Critter during Origin. Oh, yeah. Definite chance of that. I'll tell you the player that I'm going to talk about some players in a minute. I'm going to talk about some up and comers. Let's talk about that because I was talking to Macca today about it, and I was just going on rambling on and on, which is why my voice is already lost because I've been just talking all day, babble about Bulldogs players and juniors. Jonathan Suar, Jethro Rinikama, Cassius Tia. What do they call that? SMR or something? ASMR? Cassius Tia. What a fucking player. Have you been watching him? Go watch New South Wales Cup. Forget about Mitchell Woods, right? Cassius Tia. And I'm liking Joey O'Neill a lot too, right? Joey's the half. He's next man up half. Letting you know. Maybe they'll put Bailey there at the moment, but after that, Joey O'Neill get a debut at some point, I think, and deservedly so. But Cassius Tia goes into centre. Look, we saw him in the trials, right? We saw him in the Jersey Flag Grand Final. Best player on the field. Controlled the game like an experienced halfback, right? He goes out there. The ball, the poise that he's got, the patience that he's got when he's managing a game. And look, and there's been some times where he's struggled as well with that, and they've brought Pacho back and moved him back out. But he comes in from centre, goes into 5'8", sometimes goes into halfback. He is silky smooth. The balls he gets off to the winger, to Rinikama, the deceptive speed, the step, the aggression, the toughness. I'm talking this kid up. Now, I don't know if I'm the Roosters and I've got money, I'm getting him back into my system. And if I'm Cassius Tia, I'm like, thanks, dogs, for letting me bloody, shine. Honestly, this kid is so valuable that he can play all these positions and play them really well. Now, obviously, there'll be some defensive stuff that's got to happen, but he's a classy player, Cassius Tia. Me and Mark, I was telling Mark the natural order of things, and he's in Singapore at the moment, I think, which is why I couldn't come to the game and that. But it's on a holiday. Shout out to you, O'Connell. And he was like, Cassius T has gone past all of them. And I'm like, well, he hasn't. He's fucking good. He's really, really good. But they've got their order of things at the moment. I think he's someone. The class rise from Flegg to New South Wales Cup has not been difficult at all. And I think he's a player that goes in there and won't overplay his hand, will do his job, and then you'll see the class unfold. I don't normally go off like that. I've been excited about Jonathan Sewer, and I'm excited by Jethro, and excited by Joey O'Neill, and Alex Conti, who's every bit as good as what people expect. Is Mitch Woods. Mitch Woods is in the 30 and he's the prodigy, but is there just one or is there more? Or maybe he's not. Don't know if I'm speaking out of turn here, but have you ever seen a player character arc like Kurt Mann? Debuted as a centre, went to wing, 6 hooker, and now an uncompromising middle in career best form at 32. Oh, now Kurt Mann. Oh my God. I think I'm turning. I'm getting excited. And plays piano. Those fingers, those hands, that hair. I think we're all going to get a crush on Kurt Mann. Look, when he first came to Newcastle and they were playing him in the halves, I was like, skills-wise, as far as his kicking and all that sort of stuff, I was like, I never felt him as a threat in that role. But once they started playing him in the middle, at the Knights, right, off the bench. And he made them better every game. They looked a better team every time he come on. And that has continued to evolve at the Bulldogs. He gets better and better. And people asking why he didn't play enough minutes on the weekend, which is a fair enough question. But I think the flow of the game and the way that he injected himself in that second half was imperative to us getting back into the game. And maybe he had a bump or a bruise or something, I'm not sure. But they kept him fresh. They kept him as the fresh reserve because they needed someone to go out there in that second half with that energy, and he was one providing it. And we had a lot of possession while he was out there too. We had more possession than we had been having throughout the match. And that meant that he didn't really make that many tackles. Because I can tell you now, the last time we played the Broncos, Corey Jensen and what's his fucking name? I always forget him. On the wing, scored a try against us. I always forget his name. Anyway, smashed him. G'day, JD. Welcome. Good to see you, my friend. I'm sorry I didn't know you on. I was listening to the Kennel podcast. Don't like to be negative, but don't think I can anymore. Not sure why it's not telling me when you're on. I don't know, mate. They're heavily in the algorithm. They've got they're doing well. They started at 7:30. I started at 7. If I keep starting at 7 and their views go down, they'll probably move to 7. That's just how it's going. I don't think it's been deliberate. I don't think they give a shit about what anyone else does. And I don't really care about them, but I just notice stuff like when you're there and, you want to speak to as many people as you can and learn from as many people as you can. And, and I even go on and chat on their show, sometimes if it works out that way. Often start preaching to them that they're wrong or that they're right, I'm not afraid to offer what I think, which is why I have this podcast. I'm not just not there just to get aggravated when we lose and be, overly patriotic when we win. No. Mondo doesn't like the Kennel podcast. Cassius 40-20 on the weekend was awesome. He'd been doing it a long time, man. He's good at it. He's just so slick. So he's got what do they call it? Spunk. I don't know. That sounds a bit, but he's just got it. He's got it. Some people have it. Some people don't. He has it in spades. Everyone's position I've seen Cassius play, I think he's looked classiest playing in that middle third as a ball playing 13. His hands and touch are unbelievable. Yeah, look, I don't disagree, Macca. I just feel that wherever he goes, he makes a difference. And he looks like he's supposed to be there. And there's not many footballers that are that good. So when you look at this club and all the attention on Mitch Woods, and this is a player on a train and trial, right, on a New South Wales Cup contract, who's not signed for next year. They haven't signed Sexton yet. Now, Gus set Chamis straight on Sexton to be signed soon, and Gus is like, well, I don't know what makes you say that. Basically, I think I haven't worded it correctly. When Braithen Astor says that, laughing at the fact that Peter Bedell has done the story with Toby's manager and basically labelled it as just a sell to the Bulldogs club. Like, I'm here, I'm happy to take 2 years at about $500,000 a season, is what Braith basically said it was. And knowing what I know about Peter Bedell, not that he'd care what I'd think, it's 100% true what Braith was saying. And seeing the forward plan that's starting to happen, I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance that Toby or Reid don't stay, and one of them does. I think Bailey Hayward is an important cog in that. And when, yeah, it's hard. It's like, part of me feels like we're tearing things down before they start. But what people need to understand is that we haven't finished building what we're building. We're nowhere near it. So there's going to be some decisions we don't agree with. And there was plenty that people didn't agree with come 2022, 2023. Yes, we've got a war chest. We're signing these players. Why are we signing Drew Hutchison and Jake Turpin and Jamin Salmon and Kurt Mann? I've got all the messages from people who sit there and love Kurt Mann now. Even I said to someone who was a real fan of Kurt Mann, I said, look, he makes Newcastle a better team. But I was sort of thinking, he's not going to be a backup as a half or anything like that. Like, thinking that with utility. So I was like, he's not going to be he doesn't have a good kicking game or anything like that. But it's his leg speed through the middle, his ability to go in one direction, pull up and then take it another way and get second phase happening without even having to offload, which is impressive. And then pass, and then to have them in two minds and to straighten up and make half breaks. Like we saw it against the Roosters last year, where he just runs that line, straightens off, accelerates through it, and then offloads easily to Matt Burton to get the ball rolling and go ahead 12-0 after Blake Taft scored from the scrum play to start. Like, this sort of stuff just gets me excited. Mr. Exclusive Mark O'Connell will come back with a nice tan. Let's hope so. Panthers hasn't had 40 put on them yet. Oh, okay. Yeah, Timmy, I like Dibbo too. Look, I liked Dibbo's analysis of the Bulldogs, but when he talks about his own team, he's just like I can't stand the way he dogs his own side. And that's where you've got to, I think some of the stuff he says about his team and his organisation, he's got every right to. He's an invested member, and he's and he's got a football mind. Like he's looking at the right things in the game generally. And as far as a commentator, and Elmo needs Dibbo there. Like Dibbo's he's the star of that show, put it that way. And I love LMA. Makes me laugh, right? He makes me laugh a lot. I admire his passion, but sometimes I just get sick of people when I go back and watch their shows when we're losing really bad, and whilst I had my moments as well, you could not, and it's a case of I just have a long memory with what people say about our club when we're at our lowest. And I'm not the type of person when someone's down to kick them further while they're down. I'll try not to. Bring them up. I don't think those in the Cowboys have ever played a game of rugby league in their life. It's some of the takes there. Well, I think Dibbo definitely might have. But look, we're all fans, man. We all love the Bulldogs. We all love them. KCT's swag. That's the word, Timmy. Swagger. Mate, you're tonight's champion. Good evening, Doggies fans. Welcome, Michael. Thank you so much. Sorry I'm late. Just came back from Canterbury Leagues Club. Just saw Woods, Montoya and Critter. The line was crazy. Oh, Timmy was there as well, mate. See, these guys have got to meet up, catch up, say hello. Get the community pumping. I want to see you all when I'm down there, right? Just for a few hours, we go and have a drink. Doesn't have to be alcohol. Can drink whatever. I don't care. I probably won't drink alcohol. I'll have a Coke, a coffee. The beer's handed to me, I'll drink it. But let's get the community going. Like-minded people love the Bulldogs. Montoya was so nice, asked what my name was and gave me a handshake. Yeah, lovely man, well raised, and he's going to be he's a great dad. He's going to be a great dad. Still learning the caper, obviously. Just look at the NRL app, and Satilli got 5 weeks. I know he made some bad decisions, but F me, that's us. Look, he got 3 weeks because of the shoulder charge. Because it was the same as Curran, because he got done for one earlier. So grade 2 charge, which is what they graded it. It shouldn't have been a grade 2, in my opinion. It should have been a grade 1. If it was a grade 1, he probably gets a week for that, and then 2 weeks for the knee, which is a separate issue. All right, separate sort of charge. So second offence on the same charge. Yeah, so it's combined 5 weeks, and if he fought against it, it could go to 8 weeks. G'day, David. Welcome. Cassius reminds me of Jimmy Dimmick, who had the ball skills of Cliff Lyons, the kicking skills of Barr. You could hit it up like a hard running second rower and offload inefficiency like Artie. Mate, what a great way to describe Jimmy Dimmick, who I still think would have done a great job as coach of the Bulldogs, 100%. And, he's a very good assistant coach. Effectively, could offload effectively like Artie. Yeah, offloading the line too. They're the best ones. The Robert Ralph to the Rod Silva offload. They're the ones I love. And Jimmy Dimmick could do that on his head. Dean Pay could do it. Jimmy Dimmick, great footballer, even when he started at Wests and we got hold of him, which was good. And then he went to the Eels with the other blokes. Timmy Gray, sorry if I'm mistaken, but you look like the bloke I was talking to behind me. Yeah, that'd be funny. Plays a lot of skill, get a lot of time to execute and look smooth. Oh, wow. Jed Reardon had a great game in flag on the weekend. Do you think the plan is to play Woods in flag the rest of this year, depending on how he goes development-wise? Could we see him in the New South Wales Cup? I think he'll definitely get a game in New South Wales Cup, but I think the plan will be he develops in flag. And unless he outplays his value there and has to go up. And hopefully it doesn't go down, But, they're keen on developing players, even if it means taking a loss in certain other areas. They're very keen. And Jed Reardon and Bud Smith and that, like, they're playing against some big boys. They're not the biggest boys, and they're out there playing hard, playing tough. Don't know how whether they'll make it, but there's a lot of players out there that we just don't know yet. Who's going to the Canberra away match? Well, I'm not, but it'll be on a Saturday night, and I can't wait. And both teams will have the same lead-in. So Canberra play the last match, I think, against the Storm. And we play the first one. So I'll have a slightly better turnaround. I can't understand why people are so negative about Dogs now. They've played 30 minutes with 12. Could have been worse. Yeah. But that's it. Look, heroes and victims. The Foxtel newspaper love talking up the Bulldogs. Right? They love talking us up when we're winning because they cannot wait to tear us down again. Because we as passionate fans, we click on the articles, we respond, we comment, we drive their stuff and their advertisers into the algorithm further, which they get pats on the back for doing it. And look, there's lots of clubs with passionate fans. Every club generates a certain amount of stories and clicks. But the Bulldogs are just a cash cow for media. And I'm pretty sure they know it. And then you got the other side with the Sydney Morning Herald reporters and the Nine News. They're all very close with Gus and the club, and you know, negative stories might be in the club's favour a lot, and more directed at players. Whereas there's also a lot of positive stuff that they do through that avenue, and it's good that we've got Gus because we used to cop it from all sides, right? Now we're only, when things are bad, they get exaggerated worse from the Foxtel people. And you know what's really fucking funny? I can guarantee you that some of these, what's the word for it? Oh, my brain stopped working, but some of these people, you know, where they behave really badly, but they think they're the victim, they don't realise it. That's what I look at Buzz and all that, you know, like they actually don't believe that they're Ricky O, bloody what's his fucking face, Brent Reed. They all act like the victim when they're the ones who are pulling all the punches on the players. They're the ones firing all the shots, but they act like they're the victim, the way they go about it. Narcissists. I think that's what a narcissist is. Maybe I'm wrong. Canberra match will be a sellout. GIO capacity between 25 and 30. Yeah. That'll be a big scare. That's a game when you do your little thing. I'm going to be honest here. You got to lose some matches. That's one that I've picked us to lose all season. And until 2 weeks before the Broncos game, I'd actually tipped us to lose the Broncos game. But then changed my mind and changed it on me futures ladder, you know, the ladder predictor. It's on NRL. I'm always clearing it and starting again. But I'm talking a lot now. We'll be going shortly, guys. Michael's going to the Canberra game. It's a good drive out there. Stop at Picton on the way. It's not far out of Campbelltown and that. If you go near there, some places you can stop, little country places. Have a break on the way. Timmy says it's great to have him back at the club, and he said he's loving his time back at the club. I said to Woodsy, it's good to see him back. Oh, mate, you must be, you guys are buzzing meeting the players. I feel so bloody, look, I'm not someone who gets overawed by players too much because I'm more of a club lover. I get overawed by, you know, seeing Terry Lamb. But and other players. But I can tell how buzzing you guys are meeting those players tonight, and how good it made you feel. And I love that, because that makes me feel good that you're sharing it here, and I get to hear about it. Andrew says, "The guy can't wait to see develop through the grades is an edge back rower, Sasaya Alatini. He played a lot in that SG ball. He looks like a mini Olakawatu, damaging ball runner, great footwork." Yeah, we've got a couple. We've got a few. Got AJ as well. Yeah, and they Damon Marshall, who's injured, another one. But yeah, look, if you got any footage on these blokes, any information, any knowledge, I'm happy to do a story on them, and learn more about them. That's what I like to do. I'm going to the Canberra game. Depending on where we finish, the Canberra finish on the ladder, we'll only play the Raiders once. Yeah, well, I've got a feeling we might see them in September. And look, I always say, people, this is another thing. If you go listen to these podcasts, just give myself a rap. I've always said Canberra are the smoking gun. They got the youth. They've bought good youth. They developed youth into seasoned footballers, and now it's starting to come together. Do I think they're going to win a premiership? I'm not sure. But you think Fogarty's going to nail a big match at some point? He's getting ready to do that. I mean, like a September match. They've still got, I could talk about them all day, because they've got such a good balance, and their top 30 is full of depth of players that are seasoned and tough and can get things done. And the fact they got really young players like Chevy Stewart, who'd be getting to go in a lot of sides, there to back up weeks and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Good. I'll send a message to the side to get info like what you do with CJ. Oh, if you could do that, that'd be bloody brilliant, Elaine. I'd love to do that. And hopefully he would appreciate that. But it's not everyone's cup of tea. But yeah, thank you so much. Even all dinner's over. Just heard Sorensen from Panthers lost his appeal and got 3 weeks. Go figure. Let's see what happens on the weekend. Yeah, well, g'day, Pete. Really glad you're here, mate. God, your dinner's over at 9 o'clock, mate. I have dinner at bloody early. I'm glad you come on, mate, and let us know that, because that's disgraceful. That's absolutely disgraceful. But that's the NRL flopping its dick out. Sorry for that. All right, we've got beautiful people on this show who don't need that language, but it's them telling us that no, you're not appealing that and winning. It's a shoulder charge that I don't think was proven hit the player's head. And it didn't matter what Joey John said and explained. They're not going to back down on that, which means that these sin bins aren't going to stop, right? They're not going to stop. Bracing for impact and copping 3 weeks for it. Why isn't the defender allowed to protect themselves as well? That's ridiculous. No, let's just let him burst through. I'm like, I can't shoulder charge him. It's like the offside player who lets a player go and score rather than tackle them and get sent off. You just have to try and stop it. You got a duty to try and stop it. You got a duty to protect yourself. That's just ridiculous. And look, I don't think the Bulldogs have ever challenged anything, any charge they've got, because they don't see the point. No, I'll just take it. We'll get someone else in there. Give them a break. and, go again. Don't want to waste money on the lawyers. But I can understand Penrith because they're running 17th and he's one of their cohesion players. He's one of the players that have been there for a while now. They brought him over from the Sharks and he's a Penrith Panther for the last 4 or 5 years and they need him. No David Fafita. No, there's not. But he still could play. He's still on the extended bench. Interesting. He always worries me, Fafita. And I feel better when he's not there. We've got the Saluka Fafita. That's right. And I'm still hopeful he's a chance of getting signed. But, we start talking about all these juniors. And I'm like, where do we fit these existing players in? And it's such a good feeling when your first grade side's doing well and you've actually looking at your juniors properly, like who could actually make us better to make us win more, not who are we going to put in because our first grade players aren't good enough. That's it's such a better feeling and way to look at it. Timmy, you told Critter how you grew up in Penrith and you've supported the club for 27 years, but from an early age had a soft spot for Penrith, and I can often see Bizza in Penrith. Oh, he would have liked that. Nice guy, Critter, from all reports. He said, say hello to Bizza for him. What a coincidence. Timmy was right behind me today. Fire up. How frustrating when the NRL use illegal hits in marketing campaigns to sell the game. I'll tell you what, Andrew Mackie, you're one of the most intelligent, articulate people I've ever met. And I've met a few on this doing this podcast, which very impressive. You can sell the game with illegal hits. What is the end game? Phil Gould said. So what are you trying to achieve? Ask why. What? Find out what that is and then build it from there. Because they need to strip it back and build it again. Because this is going to keep happening. John just spot on. The NRL don't know what a shoulder charge is. John's was spot on, and I shared it big time. And Brandy Alexander, what he said, what John said, what Gus Gould has said, what Kevin Walters said on behalf of the defender. Kevy Walters said, if I have any player who doesn't go out there with intent to damage to hurt their opposition, because you can't. And anyone knows who's played rugby league, and all them know at the highest level that if they don't go in there with absolute commitment to smash that person, they're gonna lose that exchange. It's a combat sport, and sometimes when that clashes together, you get an accident, which in most occasions is contributed to equally from attacker and defender. Sometimes more by the attacker. Yet the defender has a duty of care. No, you lift your knee illegally and it goes wrong, sorry. When you've got the ball, you elbow someone when you got the ball, you cop it. If you cock your elbow as a defender and elbow someone in the face like Les Boyd did to Broman, you should be put in jail, not just suspended from the game. It's a funny game, rugby league, as someone we love or love sometimes says. For Sorensen, at one point, he was Panthers' lucky charm. They would win more often with Sorensen in the team. They need to stop naming tackles and base it on whether it's dangerous or not. There you go, JD. Or what I came up with in the petition, which I'll probably show before we go. I'm gonna head off in a couple of minutes. I say avoidable and unavoidable contact. Avoidable means there was no mitigating circumstances and there was something they could have done to ensure that that contact didn't happen. And every contact has force. Sometimes that force doesn't amount to anything due, the ones I have is when Viliami Kikau is almost parallel with the ground and his arm's coming across. It's not a stiff arm. It cut the top of that bloke's head. And that's why they're saying that's why they went ranked the next week, right? Because that should have been a sin bin or a send-off. No. He wasn't trying to hit him in the head. He was just trying to chop him down. And bullshit. And I said that about O's tackle on Tom. Same sort of thing. He's coming down. His arms are in a downward direction. He's not a swinging or a stiff arm where you just try and fucking slam someone's face into oblivion. The battle of. Gus said high contact has been in the game for over 50 years. Yeah, I said that at the start, mate. So he's basically said, what's new? This is the NRL gaslighting us. He never said gaslighting, but that's what he means. And giving their spin until the next time it happens, when a bunch of people start to overreact. And the one common denominator will be that there'll be high tackles happen and there'll be penalties and suspensions and sin bins. Battle of Brookie every year and the show punch-ups, but you can't fight anymore, but we'll promote the game with fighting. Yeah. That's it. They show the fight, the Battle of Brookie all the time, yeah. I love the guy who does the Fox. I've forgotten his name again because my brain's not working. Latrell has never been fit. Matty Nable, never been fitter in the Battle of Brookvale. But don't you love when they do these big sells on games and then there's a Bulldogs versus some team and it's a real important match and they don't even talk about it. And then there's Matty Burton and he comes up against Nico Hines. And that's all they say. It's like, fuck me. Promote the game. Promote each game. When they do it well, it makes me excited. Don't gloss over it. Fuck your Harvey Norman ad. Just give us that. Rather watch that. Naming illegal tackles is a commercial advertisement decision. Chicken wing, cannonball, hip drop. It's all done on the purpose from a marketing point of view. The entire sport is a reality show. Oh, I could give you a kiss, mate. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Yeah. So well said. So Tilly has a high knee action when running. So he breaks through and he's running to the try line when he meets a defender head on. His knee action hits the defender in the head. Now what? Well, you got that galloping action, yeah. But he lifted that knee higher than normal. But I will say Piakura went lower after the knee had risen. So he already had the knee up there. And then the second knee, I felt sorry for the guy in the end, for both of them, for the fallout with it. But, yeah, good call, Dave. You can't do it. There's Suwali. There's similar sort of galloping action. There's times where he's raised his leg too high. Suddenly it's the defender's issue. It's funny. There's got to be a duty of care for attacker and defender. And defenders shouldn't have to, because there's some black and white rule about shoulder charges, injure themselves by preparing and bracing for impact. when you've got that level of contact happening, which is why they will probably get rid of the kickoff at some point, because it's a tangible way of at least reducing head knocks from those plays, because those plays actually have a higher chance of something going wrong. So it will reduce head collisions. But guess what? I feel blasphemous for even suggesting it. I'm not suggesting it. I know that's probably going to happen. But there's a lot of people. It's funny. There's a lot of journos who sit there going, they're not doing enough, Kenty. And next minute they're going, well, how can we ever? No, we can't do that. It destroys the fabric of the game. Well, which do you want? You can't have it both ways. It's why Jared Sutton gets the biggest games every year. He's almost become a character villain, and having a controversy and a spectacle match sells massive. Any wonder he got so many Good Fridays. Oh, honestly, you should be writing articles, my friend. And if you frame him in a certain way, I know some people that will post them. I'm too, what's the word? I'm not succinct enough when it comes to articles. It's like the Raiders game next will be heavily promoted with the return of Matt Burton. It sure will. Ethan Strange. He may be young, but he's tough. Like Ethan Strange in Magic Round last year put a target on Jacob Carraz. It's funny because Ben Hunt hit Carraz under the ball in that Broncos game. So there's a thing with his running action which these players target in a certain way. But if you really look at what Ben Hunt did to that ball and Ethan Strange, there's no wrapping action. They're basically shoulder charging the footy. You watch it. They lead with the shoulder. Well, of course you lead with the shoulder. Yeah. Anyway, guys, been going for over 2 hours. It's time I got some shut eye shortly. It's been wonderful having you on. And I wish I gave you more notice. I'll continue to try and do that. 7 o'clock is the time at the moment that I try and do this on Tuesdays. And there'll be some more content coming out later this week. We'll have our preview, Dogfather's Keys to Victory for Sunday. And hopefully, a player watch to get out there. And I may do some more discussion about the petition. But before I go, I will show you. That's the petition there. It's up to 619 signatures. And people are still doing it. And there's people putting money into it, which gets it more views or something. So, I definitely didn't promote that or tell anyone to do that. But, yeah, it's going quite well. And it's funny, you start a petition and the next day they say they're not going to, at least not going to go back and pull people up for innocuous little moments that look high retrospectively from the sin bin, from the bunker, and then sin bin them, unless it's like a really bad offence. But what's a really bad offence? That's always subjective as well. It's all lip service. It's all designed to sell advertising, funnily enough. But thanks to those who signed the petition and shared it. You can't even bloody see it. You can't even see it. But I'll just get a few of these before I go. Gus has always said doctors and lawyers will ruin the game. Cost the NFL $750 million in 2015 to settle concussion issues when ex-players suing the game. Timmy says Dogs 30, Titans 14. Dave says, sorry, my point was if Satilli is running out into the open with his high knee action and a cover defender hits his knees, it's suddenly the defender who has the onus to tackle correctly. It's a funny game indeed. Yeah. 100%. It's like, yeah, if he's out in the clear and he's in a try scoring opportunity and someone's chasing him down and then they're the last defender, the onus is on them is to get it right. Yeah. But when it's in a hit up situation, it's different. Yeah, I get your point. Very, very good point. Look, last point on the litigation. It's coming anyway. They know that their game is causing head contacts, and until they get waivers signed and until they get a scenario that this is our combat sport, we love it, we're proud of it. Our professionals do everything in their power to reduce impacts. We have lots of great things that we do on and off the field for players to ensure that if there is a head knock, that they get proper rest and recovery, which they didn't used to get. And that goes a long way to preventing the onset of CTE. So that's what they can start to say now. They don't need to. Illegal bad head highs have always been a problem and have always been dealt with. But you don't need to sit there and have love taps or just contact that happens through what they're doing actually penalise the entire team and ruin the game and ruin the spectacle because they think it's actually exciting. Oh, they've only got 12 men. The drama. Have a great week, everyone. I will see you all shortly. And there's me got 619 signatures. Thanks, Timmy. Thanks, everyone. It's great having you on, and I will speak to you all again very shortly. Go the Dogs and fuck the Titans. Sorry.